Dozens killed, tortured, abducted in eSwatini as pro-democracy protests intensify in the last absolute monarchy on the African continent.
Here's a summary of the article.
Amnesty International warned on Friday that the government of eSwatini has launched a ruthless crackdown on human rights in response to pro-democracy protests, with dozens killed and many others tortured, detained or abducted. The government of eSwatini has launched a full frontal assault on human rights in response to ongoing pro-democracy protests. Dozens of people have been killed for daring to demand that their government respects human rights, many of them human rights defenders and activists, said Diprose Muchena, Amnesty International's director for East and Southern Africa. At least 20 people are confirmed to have been killed by state security forces so far, and 6 others who participated in the protests are unaccounted for. Since protests erupted last month, human rights defenders and activists have been subjected to an orchestrated campaign of intimidation, including being placed under unlawful surveillance with state helicopters hovering over their homes. Dozens of protesters died at the hands of security forces who were deployed to crush pro-democracy protests. Since the start of the protests, eSwatini authorities have worked with independent telecommunications companies like multinational corporation Mountain to impose a blackout on communication and internet to curtail the sharing of information online. Protests began last month in the Kingdom of eSwatini, following the mysterious death of 25-year-old law student, Tabani Nkomanye in May, allegedly at the hands of the police.
This post received a score of 5,500, with an upvote ratio of 98%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
eSwatini, formerly known as Swaziland. The name was changed in 2018 to match the name as used locally.
I just figured it was an online-only country.
I don't really know why people are spelling it this way. Sure, I've seen it written as eSwatini before.
In some South African languages, the main root of the word is what is capitalized. The E indicates that it's a place. So like Hungarian notation.
Hungary is a South African nation, gotcha.
Lots of people are hungry here.
Fucking go on, son.
There are only 5 de jure absolute monarchies remaining: Brunei, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Vatican City, eSwatini. Of all of these, the King of eSwatini is the youngest remaining monarch, born in 1968.
What about Bhutan?
King, as far as I know, gave up enough of his power to be constitutional because they saw it as more modern. If I remember correctly, probably not, but they're still popular and revered enough over there and probably have bigger say than most kings in the West, but better than nothing.
Punctuation helps.
Any news about the king? Is he still in SA?
No one knows where he is.
I was very surprised. There was a country I had never heard about. Turns out eSwatini is another name for Swaziland.
The king changed the name back to its pre-colonial name only in 2018.
This is, redundant as fuck.
Somehow made the title longer. LMAO.
A question for people who might know more about this: do the people of eSwatini have any interest in joining South Africa? I seem to recall that some years ago there were proposed referendums for it to become a province of ZA, but I am probably confusing it with Lesotho.
Considering eSwatini is ruled by a monarch who is killing and torturing people in order to stay in power, you're probably mistaking it with Lesotho.
Yeah, I recall that there were some calls for annexation referendums in Lesotho in the 2000s during the peak of the AIDS epidemic in the country. I swear that I also read something related to eSwatini, back when it was called Swaziland, also possibly joining South Africa as a solution to their numerous problems.
I don't understand the appeal of being a despotic monarch. If I was born into an absolute monarchy, I would want to be known as the king that called for his own power to be curtailed with the creation of a constitutional monarchy. It would also probably put a damper on Republican movements and preserve the monarchy for myself and my descendants. I wouldn't have to live in paranoia that I'll be deposed and lose everything.
He's rich. He has complete power. His siblings are all the government officials. His father had something like 118 children, so they form a power block that supports the despot.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.